What president introduced ice cream to the American people?
Who exactly is the Wendy's in the Wendy's restaurants? I know who she is.
This is totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Listen, laugh, and learn.
Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy. And this week we scoured the internet to come up with this information just for you.
Useless information is what we have. We'll also answer your mailbag questions. Of course, we'll tell you all about what's going on in the Nick and Roy store. And in the news, it happened again in Florida.
Useless information. It's everything you never needed to know.
Florida again.
Your weekly sweet and savory facts of totally useless information with Nick and Roy. Come and get it!
She's an introvert, by the way. The number
Yeah,
one,
right.
But speaking of introverts, we are the number one show for introverts. We've been told this many, many times. Thank you for joining us, by the way. We're in 69 different countries, and a lot of introverts write us, and they tell us that they love listening to the show because we
I
give
have
them...
to stop you for a second, Nick.
Yes.
If they're introverts, why are they corresponding with us?
Because they didn't write the email. I'm sure they didn't. That's why. So they love our show because we give them lots of conversation starters, and you don't have to be an introvert to take advantage of our show.
Yeah, in food, all of my things today are on U.S. presidents.
Oh, okay.
And the food that they either introduced or the food that they had to have in the White House every day.
Interesting.
So I looked up, and this is the first U.S. president, George Washington,
Okay.
had a type of flapjack or pancake that they called hoe cakes. Hoe, hoe cakes. Martha would say to George, where have you been? And George would say, I was just out eating a few hoe cakes. No, but a hoe cake is a type of almost like a pancake that we would have for breakfast, but it's made with cornmeal. So it's very similar to like it's like in between like a Mexican pancake.
Okay. All right.
I've had these Mexican pancakes like that, what is considered like a hoe cake. They put two of them and then they put cheese in between them and they fry them.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Yeah. How's your diabetes today? Did one of the presidents eat Toblerone by chance?
No.
Well, the Toblerone chocolate packaging will no longer...
I love Toblerone.
Well,
I love it.
The Toblerone, if you look anytime soon, maybe it's already started, but the chocolate packaging will no longer feature Switzerland's iconic Matterhorn mountain.
Really?
Because the owner, which is U.S. owned, is now U.S. owned Mondelez. It's going to move some of its production to Slovakia. The company will also remove a reference to Toblerone being Swiss chocolate because, according to Swiss legislation, it requires any product using Swissness, as they put it, to advertise a product has to meet the sign of origin criteria. And because they're going to move it out of the country, they can. And also, that little iconic bear, if you look, Bern, the administrative capital of Switzerland, features a bear on its coat of arms. It will still keep that bear on that as part of their packaging. But no more is it Swissness.
No more Swissness.
No.
Ulysses S. Grant,
Yes.
U.S. president, also big-time general in the Revolutionary War, in the Civil War. This president was known for his wife would throw. She was the first lady to throw lavish parties for dignitaries and foreign guests. Before that, they had no state dinners. She brought the state dinner to the table, so to speak.
Yes.
No pun intended.
No, the pun can be intended there. Don't worry. Don't be embarrassed. You can pun.
Now, even though the lavish food, she would really lay it on thick. Ulysses S. Grant, he had to have it every day with raisins, by the way, a simple, basic rice pudding.
Wow.
Every night, every day, rice pudding. Yes, please, raisins.
Did you, I wonder if they served Cornish game hen at those state dinners.
I would assume they did, yes.
Well, someone asked me, where did Cornish game hens come from? Do you
Well,
know? Yeah.
the corn from the hoe cake.
No, no, but you're close. It's the breed of poultry that originated in Cornwall, England. It gained prominence only after it was established in the United States. Its body shape is quite different from that of other chickens. Both males and females have short legs and broad, muscular breasts.
Mm-hmm. Thomas Jefferson.
Yes.
Known as probably one of the most brilliant presidents. I mean, basically his writings, Thomas Jefferson is a brilliant guy. He really thinks things out. Because of him, you have the papers that they did before the Constitution. They discuss all kinds of different things. And he's the guy that starts with what was called the Federalist Papers.
Right.
And if it wasn't for him, the Constitution wouldn't be the way it is. Thomas Jefferson introduced ice cream to the United States. This was my teaser. If it wasn't for him, we probably wouldn't be eating ice cream. He loved it so much, he ate it almost every night. And he made such a big deal out of it all the time that he'd give it to all his guests, and he'd make sure that everybody tried it because he loved it so much. Because of him, ice cream took off in the United States, and that's why we have it today.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, here's my teaser since you did your teaser. So here, I've seen your teaser. Here's mine.
Mm-hmm. Except my teaser was bigger.
Yeah, well, how about this? Yeah, exactly. How could it be bigger? If it's
Nick's was a Cornish hen, so to speak. Mine was a chicken.
With short legs and big, broad breasts. Okay, here's my teaser. Wendy's. You know, the girl in the red hair.
Pigtails.
Red pigtails. All right. Yeah. There really is a Wendy. Wendy Thomas Morse, also known as Wendy Thomas, when a spokesperson for the brand, is the granddaughter of Dave Thomas. Her 8-year-old likeness was used for the now classic mascot. She owned several Wendy's restaurants of her own across the United States and also began appearing in advertisements for the chain as an adult in the 2010s. But there really is a Wendy's, and that's her. She is the granddaughter of the founder, Dave Thomas.
Some bonus information about Dave Thomas that you may not know, Nick, and our listeners may not know.
Okay.
Dave Thomas was one of the main people in the Kentucky Fried Chicken chain very early on. If it wasn't for Dave Thomas, he invented the bucket of chicken. He invented the fact of the bucket being the display of the sign. He actually brought the Colonel, because he was friends with the Colonel. That's how he started with the company. He brought the Colonel in as the spokesperson. He changed the way the chicken was made. He did all this stuff and got railroaded out of the company.
Wow.
That's how he goes out and starts his own franchising food company.
Good for him. And because it was finger licking good, he gave them the middle finger licking good. Serves them right. Thank you for
stuck his finger right in a Cornish hen, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. Colonel, it wasn't eared. Thank you very much for joining us. Totally useless information with Nick and Roy is what you're listening to. In case you were wondering, because some people really wonder what the heck this is. But 69 countries around the world figured it out. Even in countries they don't even speak English.
Or spell it.
Speak and spell. Absolutely. So
some of these countries, they can even speak better than Nick.
That's right. And if you can, go to nickandroy.com.
Wall Street, Bay Street, NASDAQ, Hang Seng, loonies, toonies, dollars, and yens. This is On the Money with Nick and Roy.
She sounds so serious when she talks about money, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
money and screaming, come and get the food.
That's right. That's our voice lady who does an amazing job.
That's what Martha used to do. She used to gussy herself all up, take a nice shower, and then ring the bell and ding, ding, ding. Come on, George. Oh, cakes.
Oh, cakes. That was her nickname. Speaking of female images on U.S. coins, several women have appeared on the U.S. coin. The very first woman was not an American. She was a Spanish queen.
Isabella?
Yes, as a matter of fact, congratulations. You win a Spanish queen coin. This Spanish queen was featured on a commemorative coin. Queen Isabella of Spain was the first lady to be cast on a U.S. coin in 1893. You knew all about Queen Isabella. Good for you.
Yes, I dated her.
In 1893, yes.
I almost married, and Nick was my best man.
Yeah.
So again, I did my research for money, and
Yes.
I found out all these things about gold, that all of my things are about gold.
Gold, all right.
Gold, something everybody has. We wear it in jewelry. We get married. We have a gold ring. Well, now they're using whatever the hell they're using. I don't
Gold
even
teeth.
know.
Some people have gold teeth.
Gold teeth. That's true. Gold, right? Ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
This is the properties of gold that make it so perfect for jewelry. Did you know that gold does not rust?
Really? No.
It's a metal. It's one of the few and only metals that doesn't rust. Of course, stainless steel, but that's a combination. Gold is an actual it's on the periodic table, so it's its own entity.
Yes.
Gold does not rust. It also does not break down through oxidation like other metals. It doesn't oxidize. Okay? And it can be melted and reshaped into infinity. So when you melt it, none of the properties separate from gold like other metals, that when you melt them down, they lose something. And if you melt them down a second time, third time, fourth time, by the fifth or sixth time, they lose their properties. Gold, no. Into infinity and beyond.
It's a soft metal, isn't it? Is that why? Because it's soft.
It has the density of like a copper penny, but it is malleable, and I'll get into that in one of my next things.
All right. Well, you talked about presidents earlier in the food section. How about an actual non-president who's on one of your bills in the United States? By the way, the largest denomination ever printed was a $100,000 series in 1930.
Woodrow Wilson was on that?
Let's see. Let me. No, I don't have that here. But yeah, it was. You're absolutely right. Wow. Boy, you're on fire today. Queen Isabella, Woodrow Wilson.
Jesus. I have all this useless nonsense in my mind.
Hoe
it's got to come out, Nick.
Hoe cakes. Yeah. Yeah, that's why we're not doing this show once a month. We have to do it every week because we have so much useless information. We got to let it out. And I
have so many of those Woodrow Wilson bills in my possession. I walk around with about 10 or 12 of them on me all the time.
Yeah. But they were actually 1934 gold certificates. The bill was used only in banking transaction and was never publicly circulated. So what you have may be counterfeit in your pocket.
Counterfeited either way.
Yes, exactly. And it featured, as you mentioned, as you properly guessed, it has a portrait of President Woodrow Wilson. Today,
one of the worst economic presidents in the history of the country was on the largest bill.
Yeah. Because of that, he thought he was carrying around a $10 bill.
Yeah, probably.
So today, the highest publicly circulated denomination of U.S. paper is the $100 bill. The $100 also features the only circulating currency that does not feature an American president on its face. Of course, founding father Benjamin Franklin has that honor. Benjamin Franklin, the only non-president to be on a bill.
Oh, that's cool. See, there you go. White gold.
Okay.
So what is white gold? I mean, gold is an orange yellowish color when they mine it. It's very easy to find because of its bright color.
Yeah.
But white gold is not technically gold at all because it's a mix of gold, nickel, copper, and zinc. And it takes on a white color when they of course melt it down. But now what about rose gold?
What about her?
Rose gold, which is becoming popular again, is a mix of gold, silver, and copper.
Wow.
That one's a little easier to understand because the silver probably knocks the yellow down in the gold, and then the copper brings in the red, so you kind of get a rosy gold color.
Yeah.
But the white gold, nickel, copper, zinc, and gold
a mix. Didn't you date a girl in high school named Rosie Gold?
Oh, yeah.
And she was malleable, if you know what I mean.
Good old Rosie Gold.
Yes. The bird pictured on the American silver dollar was a real eagle.
Yes.
And his name was Peter.
Peter the Eagle.
Peter the Eagle was the bird pictured on the American silver dollar bill from 1830 to 1836. People who worked at the United States Mint adopted him to use as a model for the drawings.
Oh.
But he died, unfortunately, after getting his wing injured in the coining press.
Oh, boy.
And then they stuffed him.
They stuffed the poor guy.
And he is still on display.
Broken wing and all.
Broken wing and all. And sounds like, what was that group? Tears for Fears. Thank you. Broken wing. By the way, if you go and visit the Mint, he's still on display in the lobby.
Really? So they still have the stuffed Peter there.
That's right, the stuffed Peter.
The old stuffed Peter.
That's right. Speaking of high school.
So the oldest gold jewelry was found to date back 4,000 BC before Christ.
Wow.
4,000 BC.
Long time.
The original cultures that we know of that were civilized cultures were in the Middle East, where Iraq is now. Okay, and they found gold there. Now, of course, they're trading a new kind of gold, black gold, but which is oil.
Yeah.
But that's Joe Biden's doing away with that too. It just plug everything in.
Right.
I'm trying to corner the market on extension cords.
Right.
No, but so the oldest gold, and you said before, isn't gold a soft metal?
Right.
Yes, it is a soft metal. And probably one of the reasons why they used gold was, number one, it came out so nice and shiny, and it was interesting to look at to begin with. I'm sure it was when somebody dug it up, they were like, wow, check this out. But also, it was easy to smelt.
Oh.
And I'm not talking about you after running a few miles.
That's right.
Whoever
smelted dealt gold.
Yes, or you after a good old Frank and Beans dinner.
Yeah, then it was liquid gold.
That's the reason why, because it was softer and malleable and able to smelt at lower degrees and still form jewelry and things like that, that gold takes on its form. There you go.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yes, you're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. Now, I just want you to know that we are in the middle of all kinds of everyone's freaking out over artificial intelligence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so
we don't even have regular intelligence.
That's right.
So we're not worried about it.
So we are declaring here on this show that this show is 100% artificial intelligence free. In fact, this show...
No, we're 100% intelligence free.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm going to do for that, maybe for the next show, because we don't have time to do it today, because we have a special guest coming up later on. It's one of our friends. He's been on a show before. We're on his show. We'll tell you all about him. His name is...
He's clearly not intelligent. You'll want to hear this guy.
In fact, he's on the show because we're intelligent. We booked him. But I'm going to, because everyone asks us, like I said before, do we script the show? No, we don't. I will actually put into, what is it, GPT, whatever it is, Chat GPT, I will put in a request for it to write a short script for you and I will send you that script, and I think you and I will act out what this Chat GPT tells us what we should say.
The artificial intelligence thing?
Yeah, that's right.
Stupid site?
That's right. So I'm going to ask it, and we will read a small sample of what they tell us what to say on this show to prove.
So we're so stupid at this point, Nick, that we're going to read what the artificial intelligence tells us to read?
Exactly.
And just think about this, folks. Who's programming the artificial intelligence? These idiotic young people.
And thank you for listening. And when you go to our website, nickandroy.com, and you may want to send a complaint, but most importantly, you can send us an email, which we'll talk about in just a moment.
If you're a younger person listening to this show right now, please mark my words. As you get older, you'll go to nickandroy.com and listen.
When you go to nickandroy.com, by the way, you can also order a birthday message for your loved one to make something useful in your life. In fact, we just did another one recently. We do so many of these, and we asked them for some feedback, and they said they were really, really pleased with the message, very surprised, and, quote, they've never seen or heard anything like this before. Thank you very much.
This is becoming quite the rage. Birthday messages and anniversary messages. Go to nickandroy.com, click on the Nick and Roy store, and you can hear a sample of all of the things that we do. And of course, it's free to listen to. It's a very, very inexpensive. In fact, we have had people tell us we should be charging more. But I'm going to say this to you. This will be the best gift that you ever get for a person, especially that person you go, I don't know what to buy for them. They have never had this, and they're going to flip out. Go to nickandroy.com, click on the Nick and Roy store, and you'll find it. And I just want to say one more thing. I make fun of younger people and stuff like that. I'm joking around. You guys are intelligent people.
Yeah.
But I will say this. Nick was young once in the 1600s. And
yeah, exactly. And remember, Roy's 2 months older than I am. You're listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, and thank you very much for listening. We're in 69 countries, as we mentioned. And yes, we're in some countries where they don't even spell.
There you go. Again, he did it.
I screwed up with the same part of the thing. We are even in countries they don't even speak English, and neither do I. So what the heck? Thank you very much. But we're also on every Tuesday afternoon on Sirius XM. Now, we don't have our own show because they didn't want that, because can you blame them? So they say, why don't you talk to this guy, Jeff Sammut, and he happens to have a show.
Honestly, they weren't looking for talent, you know?
That's right. So they said, let's hook you up with somebody who does have talent. There's Jeff Sammut. And Jeff Sammut, with a little change of pace here, now you're a guest on our show. Welcome.
Well, and an honor. I appreciate it. I do owe you for your giving up some time every Tuesday afternoon to join me. It's
yeah, we have a lot.
Honestly, Jeff, we do a lot of different shows, but we actually enjoy doing your show. No, I mean that. I totally mean that. I mean, somebody's got to breathe some life into that damn show.
Well, I appreciate that. And, like, there are so many people in the audience, well, a few, that say, hey, your show is so chock full of useful information. We need just a little bit of useless information.
Enter Nick and Roy.
And that's where we come in.
That's right. And do you know, guys, we're coming up on the 3rd anniversary of us being on Jeff Sammut's show, which is Canada Now on channel 167 on Sirius XM. So, Jeff, now you decided, because you don't have enough things to do in your life with a couple of kids and a lovely wife and other responsibilities with producing a Sirius XM radio show every day, you decided to get into the podcasting world. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
And the name of the show is?
It's called Remembering with Jeff Sammut. And the idea of the show is to remember who and what we have fond memories of. So, like, for example, the first episode was remembering Gord Downie, the lead singer of the Tragically Hip, the late lead singer of the Tragically Hip, with his wife, Kaya Usher. And it was a very touching conversation. And I don't want to paint this as an in memoriam or anything like that. It's just, hey, we all have fond memories of Gord Downie. It makes us smile thinking about him, and wanted to know a little bit more about him from a perspective we don't often get. And Kaya Usher, his wife, provided that. So that's the idea of the show, and I love doing it. I am so excited about the episodes that haven't aired yet, that haven't been available yet, I should say, that people are going to hear. It really is a labor of love, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot of work, but it's putting on a podcast is a lot of work. You guys didn't tell me that.
No, it is. It really is. And it is the number one reason why people get out of podcasting. They just didn't think it was going to be as time consuming.
Do you want to know something? You're right about that. A person.
Actually, you asked me a question. No, I don't want to know anything.
No. Okay, let me rephrase what I just said. I'm going to tell you something, and this is useful information. Somebody who's a lot smarter than me, that knows about podcasts, said to me that very often podcasts don't last beyond 30 episodes because people that do them get tired of it, because they don't realize just how much work it is to provide so much content. They might have an idea for something, and then about 20, 30 episodes in, they go, I think I've done everything I want to do here. Or they just figure it's too much work and they don't want to keep it going. So,
Nick, tell the listeners how many episodes we have.
Exactly. Yeah.
More than 30.
No, we're going on 200.
We're coming up on 200 episodes, and we started in 2019. And it was one of those things where we were kind of tinkering with some ideas of what to do, because everyone else was going into the podcasting thing. And our story is that, Roy and I have been best friends for 40 plus years, and we have this great chemistry and rapport. We said, let's do something. And then it was Roy actually who came up, and I'll have to give credit where credit is due. Roy came up with lunch that day. No, he came up with the topic, and he said, why not call it Totally Useless Information? I said, I love that. Where did you get that from? He said, well, I was sitting on the toilet, and I saw a book in my bathroom that said Totally Useless Information. And it had a nice ring to it. And so we started gathering information. And the really freaky part about all this is he and I, years ago...
But tell them the truth, Nick.
Yes.
The reason that I chose that one was because Car and Driver was already taken.
That's right, yeah. And they would sue our pants off. So years ago, Jeff, Roy and I would try to stump each other with useless information, and way before the internet. And so we'd go to the library, imagine that, and get books. Now, this interview is not about us, it's about you. But going back to how much work it takes, we say we scour the internet, and far and wide to get totally useless information. We're researching some stuff, we're verifying some information because you can't read everything on the internet. You're actually talking to people, you're interviewing them and asking them to come up with some fond memories if they've passed on, or even just working with somebody. How do you prepare for a show like that?
Well, it's knowing the subject's story. So in the case of Gord Downie, and look, it's a lot of the people that I'll be talking about, or the events, what have you, that we would have fond memories of, are well documented and are of interest, I would hope, to most of the audience. So it's not as if I have to go and do a lot of digging about the subjects, but sometimes, often you have to ask the right questions. And with Gord Downie, I could have gotten somebody that is well versed in music. I could have gotten a band member, and that was something that I thought about. But
but to get his wife is so much more personal.
Yeah, his wife is going to tell us something about Gord. It's just a very different perspective. And I was fortunate enough that she agreed to do it. She doesn't do many interviews, and she did it. And we had a great chat. Similar to that, I have an episode of remembering John Ritter, and I did so with his wife, Amy Asbeck. I'd never spoken to Amy before.
Oh, let me just tell you something. I think John Ritter was one of the most underrated actors of all times. Did you ever see Sling Blade?
I talked with her about that, and in the episode, she absolutely knocked my socks off with something she did in the episode in reference to Sling Blade. I don't want to give it away.
Wow.
People can listen to the episode.
So now I have to listen, is what you're telling us.
Well, you have to.
I'm going to tell you
and how great an actor he was, and how in comedy, obviously very funny, but how gifted a physical comedian he was. Don Knotts, who was a co-star of his on Three's Company, of course, called him at a time the greatest physical comedian on earth, and he wasn't wrong.
He was, to me, he was funny. And I would say, like, if you said to me comedian, I'd say, okay, he was good and so on. But when you see him in Sling Blade, it's sad that his career didn't go on because tragically he dies. But if you see Sling Blade, you really get to realize what a great actor he really is. That part in Sling Blade is phenomenal. There's so much feeling in that part. It's just great.
And Amy was telling me in that show, that episode, that he didn't really want to win awards for it. He would not submit himself for awards for that. That performance would have been more celebrated had he thrown his hat into the ring.
Oh my God.
Billy Bob Thornton's in it.
Billy Bob Thornton. It's an independent film made by Billy Bob Thornton, actually.
She told me that at a premiere of the movie, she and John were in the audience, and people really didn't know a lot about the movie, didn't really know who was in the movie. And it took them a long time in watching that movie to figure out that John Ritter was actually in that movie.
Oh, wow.
That's how behind the character he was.
Yeah.
It's just the feeling that he gives off is just, it really is. It's great acting.
But as far as range goes, John Ritter had that, but he was funny, and he was a great dramatic actor as well. And, the parallel with John Ritter, remembering John Ritter with Amy Asbeck, his wife, Gord Downie with his wife, Kaya Usher. And what I loved about those episodes was just the admiration and affection they had for their husbands, their partners, and their best friends. They really marveled at the people and the talent that they had. It was it's just so lovely to see that devotion to that person continue beyond their lives.
You know what you
really
should
great
have called the show, Jeff? You should have called it Jeff Sammut trying to hook up with dead celebrity wives.
No.
We have a bit of fun with it. Like, we have an episode dedicated to Star Wars where we talk to the Oscar-winning set decorator of Star Wars, Roger Christian. He's the one that built like the Millennium Falcon and the lightsaber.
Wow.
And C-3PO and R2-D2. He has amazing stories. I mean, I've talked to him on various platforms. It'd be the first time for this podcast, but on various platforms, but 6-7 times. And even off air, I've talked with him, and every time I talk with him, he has a different story that I've never heard. And I'm like, why haven't you told me this story before? He goes, I don't know. You know, so he's full of stories.
Because there's a million. But you know, like this is why I really like Jeff, because we have a lot of interests like the Beatles and Star Wars and so on. But one of the things that I heard from George Lucas was sitting with the cinematographer. And you know how amazing the scenes are, like when the Death Star blows up and stuff? And one of the amazing things is when the Death Star blows up, you see the explosion coming towards you. So the particles of light come towards you. So Lucas was so brilliant. He said, let's blow the thing up and film it from underneath, and gravity will take the particles coming towards the camera instead of filming it straight on. And how genius was that?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, that's fantastic.
We're speaking with Jeff Sammut here on Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. This is useful because when you're finished listening to this program, this useful piece of program, you can go and check out Jeff Sammut's Remembering with Jeff Sammut. And it's available on all your traditional podcast platforms, of course. But what I found that full disclosure, Jeff and I know each other half as much of the time that I know Roy. So he's
still a long time.
It's still a long time.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I've always admired about you before we even came on your show.
You talking about me, Nick?
Yes, I am. Not. So it's your ability in your interviewing techniques that you make the person feel comfortable, and they probably sat there talking to you and not realizing that this was an interview. They were just having a chat with you. You have that sort of charm about you, your way of interviewing people, making people feel comfortable, and also asking the questions that we're probably asking as a listener, going, okay, right on, Jeff, go ahead. You ask that question. You go ahead. And you deliver every time. So I really wanted to point that out because that's not an easy thing to do, to interview somebody, especially in the caliber of the guests that you have on your show.
I appreciate that, Nick.
I'm glad we had a chance to chat with you for a few minutes other than we normally do. And that is, which episode do you want to happen the most? In other words, who's the one person you would absolutely have to interview before, like they'll say, you have one shot at this? Who would that interview want to be?
Oh, like one I haven't done?
Yeah.
Or one that I've done already that I want people
like
to hear?
Someone that you really, really admire, that this is like a bucket list type of guest.
Well, there are some, like, I have to think it would be someone that's older, because I'm afraid that they're going to pass away before I have a chance to speak with them.
Okay.
There are some people that are in their, late 80s, early 90s that I have access
Celebrity?
to that I want to talk to. Yeah, that I want to talk to.
Okay.
Let's face it, before they pass away, because I want to. That's the beauty of what we do and of storytelling, is to capture these stories and put them out there so that people hear them before they don't get the opportunity to.
Like, how cool would it be for you to like interview like Yoko Ono, because you're such a Beatles fan, but get her actual true perspective? Because you never really get that. You always get this washed out, image of her and so on. I mean, think it would be awesome.
As close as I've gotten to Yoko Ono is actually coming up in a future episode. It's with Bob Gruen. Bob Gruen was a friend of John and Yoko's, and their photographer. Like, the famous pictures of John Lennon standing in front of the Statue of Liberty doing the peace
Yeah,
sign.
with the whatchamacallit shirt on.
No, that was a different one. The New York shirt. That's a whole different set of photos. Well, Bob is responsible for both of those.
Yeah,
it was his idea to have John doing the peace sign in front of the Statue of Liberty, and it was he actually got that shirt for John and cut off the sleeves and told him to put it on for those photos. But he was he's still great friends with Yoko and was very close to John and Yoko. So that's getting very close to John and Yoko. But yeah, Yoko would certainly be.
Wouldn't that be a great interview?
List, yeah.
But you know what? You know what's pretty amazing too. You talk about the Statue of Liberty. Nick was there when it was erected. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah,
that's great. Yeah, so he would have been there way back when
not way back. Nick was about 40 or 50
never going to take off.
Time.
This is never going to be a thing. No one's ever going to come and
Jeff,
visit this.
Roy took the picture. Okay, Roy took the picture. So never mind. So Jeff Sammut, congratulations on this endeavor. It's something like it's a lot of work, and I mean even with useless information is a lot of work, but a lot more. I think you have a lot more work ahead of you with a lot of the people you're going to interview and the research that you do, in addition to producing your show Monday through Friday on your show. So thank you for joining us here today.
And tell the people where to go.
Well, he tells us where to go every week, but I know what he means. He means, how do we find your show?
Really, where to go?
Well, if you want to listen to my podcast, Remembering with Jeff Sammut, of course, as Nick mentioned, it's available on your typical podcast platforms, including Sirius XM, where you could find my show Canada Now on channel 167, Canada Talks. Nick and Roy join us every Tuesday for that, and rememberingpodcast.com as well. You could check out the site for obviously more information, but I've got the podcast up there as well, so people can listen to episodes of the show there too.
Don't forget Remembering with Jeff Sammut.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, I couldn't remember. I see. I lost.
That's how old you are. Jeff Sammut, congratulations.
The attention of a goldfish, Nick,
is 2 seconds. Jeff, congratulations. We'll see you on Tuesday.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
He'll get what I just said in about 30 seconds.
Animals, crazy animals.
I almost stepped on the cat again.
Yeah. Don't step on the cat, Nick.
Hey, did you know that tuna can swim really, really fast?
Tuna can swim fast?
They can, but then again, I don't know if I really believe that, because
I have caught tuna,
Yes.
Off the coast here of Florida on the East Coast.
Okay.
Off of Fort Lauderdale. I caught what's called bonita, which is a form of tuna.
Okay.
They're very, very hard to catch. I caught about 6 of them. I'll tell you, I was exhausted. They're very heavy. They're large fish, and they do swim fast, so they really pull the line. It's like catching a shark.
Well, the tuna can sail through the sea or body of water. What's the body of water that you're near? Is it the Gulf of Mexico?
I'm in the Gulf of Mexico. We don't get as much tuna here as they do in the Atlantic, which is on the east coast of Florida.
Okay, thanks for the geometry lesson. So the tuna can sail through. Okay, it's geography, I know. You can sail. The tuna sails right through the sea or whatever body of water at lightning speed. The fastest speed a tuna can swim. See what I did?
Tuna can't swim, Nick.
No,
that floats to the bottom.
So, see how I wrote this? The fastest speed a tuna can swim. So I'll rewrite that. The fastest speed a tuna can swim has been recorded at over 45 kilometers an hour, or in your language, Roy, 28 miles an hour.
That's very fast.
So that's why you were exhausted.
Yeah, I was exhausted from the can opening up all those tuna cans.
That's right. Yeah, last night, I know we're not doing dreams. Dreams is one of the topics we do. Last night I dreamt I was a muffler. This morning, I woke up exhausted.
I was on that boat, and it's exhausting to do a tuna in the can.
Oh, with a side of mayo.
So again, just so that I don't disappoint the audience, I did all of my animals on one animal.
Okay, there you go.
Extensive research using a 2008 study by a professor named John M. Mazaroff.
Yeah.
He did a study on crows, and he published that study in 2008, and it's amazing. It was amazing reading. Okay, this guy found that crows, they actually were fine with humans that were good to them. So if the human wasn't screaming at them or whatever, they would just calm with the crow. The crow not only was okay with it, but they would remember it. So they would put on masks that would resemble like a Cro-Magnon man type of, like a caveman mask.
Yeah, yeah.
And the crows would go crazy. So they began to realize that the crows, through their genetic structure, remembered what the Cro-Magnon looked like. They were afraid of it. Before it even, they just would put the mask on and the crow would go crazy. They'd act exactly the same way. So the crow realized that was danger from its genetic profiling of its brain. So crows can actually decipher who's good and bad and so on.
Well, a group of crows, as we were notified by one of our high school mates, Jay Galinsky, hello, Jay, thank you for listening and thank you for participating, is called a murder. A group of crows is called a murder.
But Nick, these crows hold a grudge.
They do.
For thousands of years,
Yeah.
They hold a grudge against cavemen.
Maybe that's why they call them murderers.
Don't mess with a crow.
No.
They don't forget.
Now, how about ants? How fast can ants find food?
Well, that depends on how hungry the uncle is.
No. And they went to Wendy's to have an ice cream. During their treks into the pans, the ants
in their pants?
No.
They trekked in someone's pants?
Ants in your pants. Yes, exactly. The ants covered distances of anywhere from 32 to 1,238 meters, so almost a kilometer, farther than they've ever run before. So they found that they found the bait in less than 15 minutes and less than 4 minutes on average. So they went from 32 meters to 1,200 meters, which is almost a kilometer, which is almost 2 miles roughly. They found it in less than 15 minutes and some in less than 4 minutes. So they know where to find their food.
Yeah, I was reading a thing one time on ants where if an ant gets killed, they send off a signal like a pheromone, and the other ants can sense it, and they never go in that direction ever again. They'll make a new direction. How cool is that? Yes. Okay, back to crows.
Yes.
And the 2008 study by Professor John Mazaroff. Okay, crows that were given treats. Now, mind you, they're not giving them treats all the time. A scientist walked over, gave the bird a treat. The bird would remember it. Not only that he got the treat, but he would remember that scientist and that scientist's face, and then he would befriend that scientist. He would be friendly to that scientist for the entire study. So the crow, not that the crow was constantly getting treats, it was just the one nice thing that the scientist did. The crow remembered it and befriended him. In some cases, the crow would fly with the scientist because it wanted to be near that scientist.
Wow.
So crows are capable of friendship. They hold grudges. I mean, this is pretty crazy stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the moral of that story is just be friendly with your crow.
Yeah, well, it's just something to crow about.
Yes. So here's a question. Do kangaroos have belly buttons?
Do kangaroos have belly buttons? I don't know. They have a pouch, so that would maybe cover the belly. But I think they give birth in the pouch. I don't know. Go ahead.
Well, let's find out. For animals that lay eggs, the baby doesn't grow inside the mother's womb. This means that no umbilical cord is needed, and so no belly button is ever created. But other mammals and humans do have belly buttons because this is the spot where the umbilical cord was connected inside the mother, etc. Now, kangaroos are marsupials.
That's right.
Their embryos are not nourished via placenta, therefore have no umbilical cord, and therefore do not have belly buttons. Mystery solved.
Oh, so they don't have belly buttons.
They don't.
Well, how do they give birth? The baby is birthed without an umbilical cord.
Right.
I would think they would be fed by placenta, but not necessarily through the umbilical cord.
So while you do your next fact, I will find out how do kangaroos give birth. Is that fair enough?
Sure. All right. Back to crows. I'm going to crow about this.
Okay.
5 crows. This was the same study. John Marzakoff,
There you go.
2008.
Thanks, John.
Yeah. Thank you, John, for doing this. 5 crows were helping an expecting mama crow by bringing her twigs to build a nest. Now, crows, we know they crow, they make noise. That's pretty much why they call them crows, I guess.
Yes.
But the communication skills are so elaborate for the crow that the mama crow would tell them to bring the twigs. She'd tell them what size twigs to bring. And then when she had enough, they just put them in a little pile for her. She then made the nest. But when she had enough, she would basically tell them, and even some that were bringing some more, she'd say, no, go bring it somewhere else. I've got enough. So they were able to literally communicate to a level that you would think that the crow would just drop it on the pile or whatever. And she'd say, no, send that over to somebody else because my house is already built. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
How amazing is that?
Well, you know what happens when they get older? They develop crow's feet.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you the truth. After watching the movie The Birds, I had a very, very off opinion about them. You know, when that one pecked the guy's eye out,
That's right.
That was he was in the phone booth and he was screaming mercilessly like, man. And the crow didn't seem to care much when he was pecking his eye out.
Nope.
You know?
Nope.
So keep an eye out for those crows.
Keep an eye out because they'll take your eye out. Be careful. So here's the information about those of you who are waiting and hanging on. Thank you for listening to Totally Useless
With
Information
bated breath.
with Nick and Roy. I did brush my teeth. At the end of the pregnancy, the expectant mother takes up a sitting position and grooms her pouch. The baby emerges from an opening at the base of her tail called
and climbs up her fur, right?
And it's called a cloaca. The infant is very
the old cloaca.
Yeah.
I used to love that. But go ahead.
Yeah.
When I was down under one time, and I mean down under.
Yeah. You did
looking for the old cloaca.
You did. And they also prescribed you penicillin. The infant is very, very tiny, about the size of a lima bean.
Oh.
So there you go.
Wow. So this is kind of a gestation type situation where it's going to go in the pouch to keep growing.
You see?
No wonder there's no. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's why never, ever try and sneak up on a kangaroo and lift its tail up.
No. Which, by the way, bonus fact, if you do lift up its tail, it can't hop. You're listening to Totally...
Yes, we had that on one of the shows,
exactly.
Right?
Almost. We're approaching soon.
Well, that's how Nick gets his influenza.
I tried that once. We're approaching 200 episodes, and we'll tell you something really special planned for that. Our very first episode, we called the pilot episode, and we started with, ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Who's flying the plane? Who's flying the plane? Those are the opening lines of Totally Useless Information almost 200 episodes ago. Could you imagine? Wow.
Wow, I can't believe it. First episodes were kind of scripted, folks.
Yeah, they were.
They were more scripted than we do now.
Yeah.
And you'll hear the difference.
Yeah, you will.
You know, but you should go back on nickandroy.com and go into episodes and listen to the first couple of episodes because they are funny how the show has evolved.
Go to our website and you can send us an email like lots of fine people did. How did they do that? They went to nickandroy.com and clicked on Contact Us.
What's in the mailbag? What's in the mail?
Virginia from Cleveland, Ohio writes, Dear Nick and Roy, I am happy that I found your show. A friend of mine raved about your show. At first, I didn't believe her. Now that I've heard about 10 of your shows, so Virginia did exactly that. She went to our website. She heard 10 of your shows. I am so hooked.
Mm-hmm. So that's just like crack. It's like crack cocaine.
That's right. Exactly. Yes.
We should be arrested, Nick and I, for dealing it.
No, here's what I wrote. Yes, Virginia, there is totally useless information.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
Here's my question. My son is left-handed, and I heard that being left-handed was once a bad thing. Is this...
Nick, you're left-handed, right?
That's true. Yes, that's correct. She
It
wants,
is a bad thing, Virginia.
No, it's not. She wants to know if this is true. Should I encourage my 10-year-old son to switch to be right-handed? Well, so first of all, Virginia, thank you very much for your email. So as a matter of fact, yes, I am left-handed. In fact, Roy's wife is also left-handed.
Yes, my wife is left-handed. And yes, she is. But she actually does a lot of things with her right hand.
That's true, and that's the same thing.
Yeah, and that is strange. She's awfully strange. Trust me. Please help me.
Well, she married. Listen, so we questioned her intelligence when she married you 40 years
Please
ago.
call the police and help me.
That's right. So left-handed people make about 10% of the world's population, and some of the most famous and smartest people in history were lefties, I might add.
Yeah.
A long time ago, Virginia, this trait was seen as bad, and people were considered outcasts because of it. But as centuries went on and science evolved, it was made clear that lefties are equally smart, if not smarter. I will repeat that. It was made clear that lefties are equally smart, if not smarter, in certain areas.
And what is the young lady's name, Virginia?
Her name is Virginia from Cleveland, Ohio.
Virginia, let me just say this to you.
Yes.
You know how they give trophies to everybody now, even if you lose?
Yeah.
That's what we did with the left-handed people.
No.
We
Come
said,
on.
let's just make them feel like they're normal.
No. You're not right. You're wrong. A study conducted by the Left-Handers Club. It's a pro-left.
The old lefty club.
Yeah, this is a group dedicated to research on left-handedness. They have lots of time on their hands.
So to speak.
So with over 2,000 left-handed and right-handed and ambidextrous participants, they found that lefties tend to be drawn more to careers in the arts, music, sports, and information technology fields.
Yeah, let me just say, if you're left-handed and belong to a club called the Left-Handed Club,
yes,
where you research things to do with your hand,
yes,
you're probably using your hands too much to begin with for a reason.
That's right. Exactly. By the way, Rembrandt and Michelangelo were both left-handed.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh?
Just saying.
Yeah.
Harvey Jr. from Atlanta, Georgia.
Junior.
First thing I want to say is Nick complained to the airlines about the delay in his flight, and they apologized, and they said they'd also like to apologize for him for the delay in his brain function.
Coming in for a landing now.
So Harvey Jr. from Atlanta, Georgia, he writes, I love my wife because my wife did the most amazing thing for me. She bought me a birthday message. You guys are hysterical. I want to thank you so much for making my special birthday this year. I'm 50. And it was one of the best gifts I've ever received, ever. And he puts exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Mm-hmm. He said, I have sent it to all of my friends. Trust me, we'll be getting a lot more of these from you because they all thought it was amazing. Harvey Jr., Atlanta, Georgia. Happy birthday, Harvey.
Happy birthday, Harvey. That's right. Today in the show, we talked to our very good friend, Jeff Sammut. Congratulations on your endeavors.
Let's go to Florida, Nick. Come on, let's go to Florida, Nick.
Today, this is a routine. This is part of the protocol here. We have to remind the people today. We talked about food. We talked about money. We talked about animals. By the way, before we get into this, you live in Fort Myers. How far away is that from Naples, Florida?
Oh, no. I mean, it's literally, I'm 15 minutes from Naples.
Okay.
I'm on the Fort Myers. I'm literally in Estero,
right?
Which is, there's Bonita, Naples, Estero, right. Fort Myers are all very close.
Minutes away from Naples.
Minutes, I tell you.
It's time for the news.
And now, from around the corner and around the world, this is TUI News.
A drunk man was arrested after sneaking into the Naples Police Department and recklessly exploring. Joseph Moulton.
Look, I didn't have much to do that day, Nick. I'm sorry.
Well, you're lucky because this suspect is 36. You're not 36. You're older than 36.
But I look 36.
That's right. He jumped the fence of a south parking lot and went inside an unlocked patrol cruiser where he sat for a few minutes until he saw people coming outside.
I know where this is, by the way, but go ahead.
Okay, so Moulton hid in the bushes and then took action once the coast was
Moulton
clear.
is the man's name?
His name was Joseph Moulton, 36 years old.
I thought maybe he was like a bird and he was molting.
No. But wait till you find out what he did, almost. According to the police report, Moulton used the nozzle of a water hose and shoved it underneath the west door before turning the water on, causing at least an inch of flood damage. He explored his way to the men's locker room, made himself at home by taking a shower and helping himself to some clothing.
This guy loves water.
He does, because that's right. That's right. He puts the garden hose inside, causes a flood, and then goes to take a shower, and then helps himself to some clothing.
Yeah. Oh, so he put on some police clothing.
Well, we're not. I guess so, because he's in a police station. So Bill Tyndall, who's a Naples resident, do you know him, by the way? Bill Tyndall.
His name is what?
Bill Tyndall. Do you know him?
Oh, good old Billy Tyndall.
You know what? Okay, let me pause for a quick second.
I call him Willie Boy. Willie Boy
Listen,
Tyndall. I
say this tongue-in-cheek because, so I'm in Toronto, Canada, and people who, like, usually people from the United States come out and say, oh, you're from Toronto? My cousin lives in Vancouver. Do you know them? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Sure.
Yeah, of course. We all know everybody.
So do you know Bill Tyndall from Naples?
Of course I know.
Okay,
No,
fine.
I don't know Bill Tyndall. And if I did, I'd say no.
That's right. Well, according to Bill, who's a Naples resident, he said Moulton is a very ballsy guy for causing trouble inside the police station.
Was he in the locker room when he was changing to make that description?
No, he just said this after he found out what happened. He didn't admit that. Moulton took a uniform shirt, pants, cap, and bulletproof vest worth $900.
This guy was getting ready.
Well, the police...
Did he keep the hose? He seems to like the hose.
Well, he might as well have, because police report what describes that he, took a dump in the woman's bathroom floor.
Oh, this guy's got some issues.
And speaking of dumps, he dumped a police radio in the toilet.
Oh, so he defecated in the ladies' locker room.
Bathroom floor, and then dumped a police radio.
Maybe he felt like he was a woman that day, and he felt he was entitled to use the woman's locker room.
We're not sure. It wasn't until Moulton made his way to the nearest 7-Eleven that police became...
So he gets out.
He gets out.
This is how great the Naples... Folks, if you're going to commit a crime, do it in Naples.
That's right.
Because you guys don't have a clue. This man, not only did he shower, but he flooded the place. He managed to defecate in the and to throw radios into the toilets.
Yeah.
Get dressed in clothing that wasn't his and walk out of the flooded police station.
Yeah, and goes to the 7-Eleven. What's the expression? You shite, shower, and shave. I wonder if he shaved.
Yeah, but Nick, this is getting me crazy because there was nobody working at the police station.
I guess
Does
not.
our police station have like a 9-to-5 type deal?
Probably, daytime hours. During his interview, by the way, they were able to locate him because, it's easy, right? Because, he was at the 7-Eleven. So during his interview, he admitted to being under the influence and not recalled what he just did.
So he's blaming it on the alcohol or the drugs.
100%. He's being charged with grand theft and 2 counts of burglary. But Naples police are not commenting any further.
Should be charged with dumpery.
Naples police are not commenting at the moment as they further their investigations.
Yeah, they better take DNA samples from the woman's locker room.
That's right, to make sure.
This is crazy, though, and so they got him, though. They apprehended.
They apprehended the guy.
He's no longer floating around the streets of Naples.
No, his biggest mistake. We went to the nearest 7-Eleven.
Yeah, that's always a mistake. Don't go to a 7-Eleven if you're going to do something like that. Just go straight to the next police station because you'll probably get away with it there too.
That's right. Naples, Florida.
He should have walked back in and clocked in.
That's right. And requested overtime. That's all the time. We're not doing any overtime here because that's all the time we have for this episode of Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. We thank you for joining us. We will scour the internet. Our staff will as well to get totally useless information for you next time.
Listen, tell everybody you know to listen to the show. Go to nickandroy.com. Look at those birthday messages. Awesome. And all kinds of other stuff on the Nick and Roy store.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Roy.
Thanks for listening.
Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy is a production of nickandroy.com. Visit nickandroy.com to access the full library of episodes or wherever you get your podcasts.